It's a great pleasure to have all of you with us. Please serve and start settling down. Meanwhile, Delhi-NCR and TV9 present Art of Winning, featuring Delhi-NCR board members and governing council members. Unlock the secrets of business mastery with the art of winning. Dive deep into untold tales of entrepreneurial giants to explore their challenges, triumphs, and treachery, as well as tenacity. From trend-setting to trust building, discover the craft behind their legacy. Please enjoy Art of Winning.
Building a business in India is an adventure sport. And if you're a woman founder, then it's double the challenge.
I come from a very orthodox Marwari business family where girls don't normally work for other people.
When I started out, pet care was not really an industry.
I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so starting something on my own was a no-brainer.
I started the company as a marketplace for people to go and book private jets.
It has taken many, many years and trying.
As a woman founder, I would say take small steps.
It's been about building a brand and a category from scratch.
Believe in the idea that diversity builds better businesses.
We can't leave women behind all over again.
India is a country of entrepreneurs.
The Indian consumer was ready to leapfrog far quicker than we'd imagined.
We're only solving 10% of the problem.
One is looking for a potential solution.
We had products, there was demand, but we were not able to fulfill it. I was naive enough, foolish enough to start alone. We hit a complete roadblock.
We created a layer of content around transparency in healthcare because we believed that was the number one problem to solve.
For me, opportunity didn't matter as much as the size of the problem mattered.
So we did a lot of work, reached out to these owners, and the first problem that we solved was we said we'll take control of the delivery quality service and we'll also make these planes profitable for the owners.
Instead of buying furniture, we are renting furniture. Instead of buying homes, we are renting out homes. So we're moving from access to ownership at all points of time.
People were telling other people about the experience with Make My Trip, and those customers were coming to us because they'd heard about us.
But you know, sometimes an idea is so compelling that you have to go for it. And we went for it, and the rest of it is really history.
I am Deep Kalra,
Sakshi Vij,
Prashant Tandon,
Deep Bajaj,
Kanika Tekriwat,
Pramod Bhasin,
and this
is my art
of winning.
Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. Do serve yourselves and start getting seated. The importance of investor relations cannot be overemphasized. As you know, building strong investor relationships is crucial for startup success. They offer valuable guidance, connections, as well as, of course, funding. Maintaining regular communication and transparency with investors is extremely important. This builds trust and ensures that they feel involved in the company's progress. Moreover, entrepreneurs should view investors as long-term partners rather than just sources of capital. Cultivating these relationships can lead to future investments and partnerships. Therefore, we would really like all of you to sit down on your tables and have lunch with investors. It's a key element of the program that we organize as part of TiEcon so that we can bring the investor community from across the country in touch with the startups who really want to meet them. At the same time, the investors are looking for ideas, looking for founders who have high potential growth opportunities, and therefore this is like a marriage made in heaven. And that marriage starts off with this successful lunch that you have with each other to introduce yourselves. So please settle down quickly and start your interactions as quickly as possible.
To now settle down because we're all set to take the proceedings further. I would request all our guests to take their seats. We're all ready now to begin with the proceedings. We have very insightful conversations and discussions. We wouldn't want to delay the agenda, so I would request all of you to kindly take your seats. I would also request all of you to put your phones on silent. Could I request all the distinguished guests, delegates to take their seats, please? Guests, we're all set, so I would really humbly request all of you to please take your seats because we wouldn't want to delay the proceedings. If you could all just settle down and take your seats. Could I request the guests at the back to please settle down? The final minute, and then we're all set to begin. We'll just request you to take your seats. Good afternoon, hello and welcome. It is my immense pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to TiEcon 2024. Let's give it up. We have 2 days of insightful conversation, discussions, networking. I'm your host for the next 2 days. I am Ridhima Bhatnagar. I can already sense a lot of excitement in the audience, and that's always good to see because it's really that time of the year when there is a lot of buzz, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of excitement in the air with Delhi-NCR hosting the 23rd edition of its annual flagship conclave. And what could be a better theme than to kickstart with this? The theme that we're going to take forward the proceedings with this year is the new Bharat. The Bharat that is confident, that is bold, that is far more inclusive. It brings to fore a far more equitable, sustainable, and globally influential future of India. Interestingly, what it also highlights is the country's determination to address its challenges going forward. As we said, there's lots to look forward over the next 2 days. We will bring you conversations that will be seeds for ideas for tomorrow that will be shaped in halls like these. You will also listen to the brightest voices as far as the entrepreneurship world of India is concerned. And you will also have a rare opportunity to network with the sharpest minds. So let's really get the party started. Let's get the proceedings started. Let's get straight to the first session of the day. And this is about influencers shaping Bharat's cultural narratives. This session is powered by Havas India Network. We would want to thank them for their support. I would now like to invite on stage Mr. Kalyan Kumar, co-founder and CEO, Klug Tech. I would also like to invite on stage Gaurav Mehta, CMO Noise. I would also like to invite on stage Sanchita Roy, Chief Strategy Officer, Havas Media. Could we have a distinguished guest on stage, please? Huge round of applause. A little more enthusiasm. Let's not hold back with our applause. The day has just started. Let's give it up one more time, loudly, for all our distinguished guests. Sanchita, over to you.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session. I think the topic's already been given, but what I really want to talk about today is, in the last few years, we've seen the enormous rise and adoption of digital as a medium in the country. And, today the mobile phone is our first port of contact whenever we want to reach out to our consumers. So, and what it leads to is, higher connectivity with consumers, where people are sharing experiences, sharing their stories, and in the process, what is happening is brands are also getting to talk about and connect with consumers. So what we are having today is the topic that we are going to talk about is how social media influencers are helping to shape the cultural narrative, especially in tier 2, tier 3 markets. And therefore, what is it that marketers needs to do to, unlock growth for their set of brands? And I have with me, here on the panel, Gaurav Mehta, CMO Noise. Noise, as we know, that is one of the leading India's smart wearables and hearables, brand. And we want to understand from Gaurav, what is it that he's doing, when it comes to using influencers to to unlock growth for his set of brands. And I also have with me Kalyan, who is the co-founder and CEO of Klug, which is the smartest, tech platform on influencer marketing that we have. So, welcome Gaurav, welcome Kalyan.
Thank you.
And I'll start with my first questions to you, Gaurav. So I want to hear from you as a marketer of a leading D2C brand that deals with smart wearables and hearables. How have you used influencer marketing to build your brand, and what kind of influencers works best for you, especially in a category like yours?
Thanks, Sanchita, and thanks for inviting me to have a discussion today. Smart wearables, smartwatches, audio products. We launched something, a smart ring, very, very recently. Technology, any technology product doesn't is not understood by people from get-go. It's a high involvement product where people take upwards of 20 to 30 days before they can make their purchase. And that's where the role of education plays a very big part. And now you could do one thing that you were to say, okay, I'm going to invest like millions of dollars on ATL and explain to people what the product is all about so that I'm actually engaging again and again at reach with a lot of people. Or you could always take a look at an alternative medium like say social media, where the reach, especially in the tier 2, tier 3 is phenomenal. And also the format is such where it gives you the chance to actually explain about your product and the benefits that your product delivers to the audience. So which is where I think social media / influencers / organic content plays so beautifully for the category that we are in. And the kind of influencers that have done well for us, I'm like, the answer comes from the fact that we are in the lifestyle technology space. We are as much about technology as much as we are about lifestyle, which means how does the person feel when he or she wears a smartwatch or a ring from noise. And at that point of time also, the whole influencer's choice hinges on these two factors also. Is this person a person who can talk about technology from a deep domain expertise? Or is this a person who can actually make technology look good as well? I think those are two big factors from a domain expertise, and then the reach the person has, the authenticity the person has. But primarily, I think Noise as a brand has been built because of social media. Apart from the product and packaging and so on and so forth, I think social media and influencers have had a very big part for a bootstrap company to be the #1 smartwatch company in the country and a very big smart wearables company.
So you mentioned about authenticity, you mentioned about domain expertise, that's probably, reasons or things that you look out for, when you're particularly choosing a certain kind of influencers to kind of, work with. So coming to you, Kalyan, because, you're the co-founder for Klug. Tell me, what kind of metrics do you think that, brands should look at when they're planning to work with influencers across categories, and what kind of mix works best? Like we hear about micro-influencers, we hear about macro-influencers, nano-influencers, and then you have superstars. So what is that right mix, or what are the metrics that a brand should look at?
Thanks, Sanchita. So, couple of things. We've looked at a lot of data, we've looked at a lot of strategy for influencer marketing, and what we are evangelizing now and we feel brands should be looking at is just like you do all the rest of your marketing, you define your audiences first, being cognizant of the fact that your influencer is your mouthpiece. It's the audiences that matter. It's the consumers that you're trying to target. And so far, we've seen that, and this is across brands, that we've seen that the audience mapping to a brand is a huge area of development to the extent of a potential 60 to 70% improvement on your existing spends that's possible using data. And that's a massive claim. And where we're seeing that are two larger areas where a lot of brands, and we are evangelizing this, that let's say you take a platform like Instagram on which there are influencers. About 57% of almost 6 million profiles analyzed, that's almost 4.6 million profiles have more than 60% inactive or spurious followers. 60%, I mean, think about that, which means on a good day, you look at any brand and you just pick any of the 100 influencers they've used, you know that half of them are not worth the money spent. And when you analyze them, you realize, my God. So that's one. So that's hygiene. And then there is business, which is to say, I want an influencer from Guwahati whose audiences are from there, who should be male or female and should like electronics. Imagine being able to define such KPIs and metrics to define audiences. And therefore, we step back to saying, look, your reach and your reach parameters are best served through paid media. I mean, an influencer's organic reach is literally a fraction of a cost per reach you would get on somewhere else. So those are the kind of considerations we're saying, look, first, find the influencers who have real audiences. Second, find influencers who have audiences who matter to your brand. If you are able to flip that, then you're able to see a 60 to 70% improvement. And there's one more thing while we get into this. We call this the great, at least I call this the great gender mismatch tragedy. Another interesting data point, if you look at any 100 female profiles on Instagram, only about 6% of those have at least 50% female followers, which means every beauty brand that has been working with influencers in the female category has been talking to dudes at least 70% of the time, which needn't be the case. So baselines, before we get into KPIs, and KPIs, we're saying sorry, there's a long answer to a short question about that, but influencers should be doing influencing. And influencing is about the points you just raised, Gaurav, which is, how credible I am, what's my capability, and what's my warmth, and what's my cool. So yeah, there's a lot to consider there before we get down to baseline KPIs. Thank you.
Interesting. Gaurav, I mean, the buzzwords in media today is, when brands keep talking about localization, regionalization. So, what do you see the role of regional influencers in the coming few years? What role? So, is it like one size fits all? So, you go with a national celebrity or someone who's working across markets, or you should actually go local and start choosing influencers at a local level for the better connect and with your end users finally?
Sanchita, I'm a middle of the road kind of a person. I always think that the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's never either or. For a scale business, you have to have those champions / influencers who cut across all stratas of our country, be it regional, gender, whatsoever. I mean, but then you have to have some champions who cut across and give you, because by investing in a celebrity / influencer who cuts across, your cost per reach, your operating leverage just gets magnified that much more. But then comes the interesting part that after you've made relevance with 60, 70 other percent of the market, every incremental 5% of the market becomes that much more harder to reach. Not just in terms of time and effort, but in terms of cost also. And I think a lot of people in this room will understand that the largest cost on any company's P&L, especially startups and D2Cs, is marketing. So when you're going after the next 5% growth or next 5% penetration, you will see that you are spending much more than what the first 5% you were spending on, and which is where regional influencers or doing anything and everything regional becomes that much more important, because your cost per reach, your relevance with that 5% incremental audience becomes much more potent compared to what you've been doing with, say, one-size-fits-all approach. one-size-fits-all approach gives you a lot of heft initially, but after a point of time, when you're actually like talking to the next 30-40%, you have to go regional. And that's something, I mean, maybe not from Noise's perspective, but then I think this is something that we did very, very successfully at OLX back in the days. Not only from an influencer perspective, but from a content generation perspective. From just like making sure that the product or what you're putting out is relevant to a person from different regions and so on and so forth. Because as a marketer, your biggest cost on your own P&L is media. Anything that optimizes media is something that you should always like back wholeheartedly. And I think regional influencer or just looking at your go-to-market approach from a regional perspective is a must-have. It's not like a good-to-have, it's a must-have.
So it's finding that right balance between, you know, a national influencer versus regional, and depending on the product categories and the life stage of the brand that you are in. If it's your scale, then maybe you might go with national. If you're trying to, you know, penetrate deep down in the market, maybe regional then starts making more sense. To you, Kalyan, my last question is, you know, you've spoken about, you know, how do you go about choosing the right set of influencers? So how do you ensure authenticity and transparency, you know, when you're doing brand partnerships? How do you go about doing that? And can Klug help us getting any insights that might help us, you know, making better choices, taking better decisions?
Yeah, and I think I kind of, so first of all, I'm with you on that mix of things, Gaurav. And to answer you, I think I already dwelt on some of those points, which is to say, start with hygiene. Why pick influencers when you can pick with fake followers versus ones with real ones? And the second one is relevance, where, you know, if I'm a beauty brand, I want my audiences to be female as well. Third is to find affinities, and that's possible using technology, especially like Klug. You say that I want an influencer from Guwahati, so going local, or Meerut, or Ernakulam, and I want the audiences to be, let's say gender, let's say female. I want the audiences to have an interest in parenting baby content, if that is your brand or category. All of this is now possible on demand across millions of influencers, not just in India, but globally. For example, imagine you're a K-beauty brand and you say that for a tactical, the big influencer, I want to find a K-beauty, a South Korean female influencer who has audiences in India. You've certainly freed up all human subjectivity of decision making to data-led first, which is what I like to say, our old adage, you know. In God I trust, everybody else must bring data. And the other marketing saying that 50% of my money goes to waste, but I don't know which 50%. All of that is now optimizable. So ask hard questions. Technologies have come to a part, technologies like us, not just us, I would like to say, of course, allow you to make decisions that are very surprising. And the last bit is, because it's been so manual, the world of influencer marketing, it is the top 3% of influencers who do almost all campaigns. Which means as a top influencer, forget the celebrities, I'm talking about Coca-Cola on Monday and L'Oreal on Wednesday and Panasonic on Friday. Exaggerated timelines. So what you see is these big fatigued influencers get a fifth or a tenth of the engagement that they get on their organic posts. So all of these considerations of baseline, you know, what's the role of my influencer? If I'm a legacy brand and I have well-known thing, I need more reach and visibility than I want to sit on, you know, rational discussions. Are you a cool or led brand? Are you driving cool or fashion, or are you driving depth of consideration, especially with high-value products like yours? So those are the methods we're saying ask, and data will provide some fantastic answers on scale for you and instantly as well. So that's how Klug does it.
So very clear mandates emerging, you know, from my conversations with you both. One is like, yes, there is a need for, I mean, influencer marketing is important today, and especially, you know, in categories where you really want to, A, newer categories where you really want to, establish yourself, and of course for established categories as well. And, something like which you both said, that, look for influencers that knows their craft, right? And of course, followers, having that fan following helps, but them to know their craft is also important. And therefore, we should choose influencers who really understands probably the category or is showing passion for the brands which they are supposed to influence consumers with. So I think with that, we've also, done an research that we did in partnership with Klug, and where we also saw that, there are very clear mandates, especially in categories like travel tourism, or whether it's food, whether it's fashion. Influencers have started to really play a big role. And depending on, which market, what life stage your brand is, and the kind of category heat that you have in the market, your role of influencers will differ, and the kind of influencers that you probably have to go with would also change. So I think that was from us. Any questions anyone has for the panelists, we'll be free to take those.
Yes, sir. Why don't I give you my mic?
Hi, I'm Ravi Agrawal. I have a very simple question. A few days ago, one influencer had told about having one platform for all influencers in India. So any brand can search the influencers' actual reach, actual organic audience versus the fake audience, and their pricing to have a shoot cost, and what the timeline they want to associate with that as an exclusive level, so they cannot associate with their competitor brand also after 6 months. So do you have any take on that kind of platform possible in Indian scenario? Because there are so many influencers across the platform, YouTube, Insta, and other platforms. Thank you.
You want to take that, Gaurav? Yeah. Actually, that's totally meant. Short answer, yes. All of the above. You can define who you want, what exclusivity, to see if they've worked with some other brand, the fake followers, breakdown, logic, geography. Fun fact, Brazil used to be the largest consumer and supplier of fake followers. We took that very personally, and now India is #1. So it's amazing. And therefore, we're saying everyone step back, ask exactly the question you just asked. Look for the justification of how that data is derived, so that you don't buy data and what we claim. What's the logic of that? Looking a little bit under the hood solves you out for the rest of the year. I hope I answered your question. Thanks.
Well, thanks a lot for that, Sanchita. Thank you for moderating that fantastic session. I would request our guests to stay on stage. Let's give it up for our first session. We couldn't have had a better start as far as the proceedings are concerned. A small token of appreciation for our guests, please. Could we have one of those volunteers, please? A token of appreciation from TiE to our panelists. I'll request our guests to stay on stage, because now it's time for something very interesting, which is that we will have a report that in fact will be launched. We'll unveil the findings of that very interesting report. And this is echoes from social media influencers shaping the cultural narratives in Tier 2 and Tier 3 city. You will see the findings of this report in just a bit. At this point, I also want to invite other distinguished guests before we unveil this report. I would like to invite Mohit Joshi, CEO, Havas Media Network, and Uday Mohan, MD, Havas Media India, to also join us on stage. I would also like to invite Mahavir Pratap Sharma, Chair, TiE India Angels, I would also like to invite on stage Latika Pai, Board Member, TiE Delhi-NCR, Head PEVC Partnerships, Microsoft India. Could we have a distinguished guest on stage, please? Huge round of applause. I need a little more energy from the audience. We've just started. We have a long day ahead of us. Could we have Mr. Shibu Sivanandan on stage as well? Could we request the guests to actually hold the reports, if that's possible, before we group up for the photo opportunity? Perfect. Thank you to all our guests.
I would just say that this report is available for everybody, so anyone can pick up copies.
This report is now available. You'll all have access as far as this report is concerned if you want to delve deeper as far as the findings of this report is concerned. Thank you.